Hello everybody, I'm Ramsis.
And I'm the Vespor.
And we're here for another edition of Back in Time, episode number 30, where we take a look at something from the past that you still enjoy to this day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and
ring that bell
so we can bring you many more of these in the future. Today's subject is going to be PSA Part 3, Cartoon Edition.
Now, a lot of you young ones out there may not be familiar with PSAs, but when we grew up in the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s, this is something that was attached to every show. Teach us a moral lesson because the show we're watching certainly was not doing that.
American guidelines had laws where if you're doing a cartoon or something geared to kids, you had to have a certain amount of educational content within, whatever educational means, that's all left in the air. So to get around it, what did the companies do? They threw in a little PSA at the end.
Some of these are only like 10 seconds. They're like, hey kids, don't drink and drive, and knowing's half the battle.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. So today's PSAs are going to be all those moments at the end of cartoon episodes where the characters in the show you're just watching are now teaching you a very important public service message. The only ones we're looking at now, cartoon episodes that had PSAs at the end.
So we're going to go ahead and start it off with one of the more famous shows to have a PSA. And so we're going to now take a look at Spirit telling us what to do if you just suddenly catch on fire.
Yes, from the G.I. Joe cartoon series made by Sunbow Hasbro. At the end of every episode, it was the Knowing Is Half the Battle from 1986. Here we go.
Boy, what a great campsite.
Yeah, here's more wood for the fire.
Help, my clothes are on fire. Run for the stream.
Don't run. Here, let me wrap this around you. You okay?
Lucky thing you were around, Spirit.
Lucky thing you didn't run. Remember, running only makes the fire worse. If your clothes catch fire, wrap yourself in a rug or blanket.
And roll on the ground to smother the flames. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Well, this raises many questions. Because if you take a look at this, they are exactly less than 10 feet from a stream. And he's just standing there like, oh my god, I'm on fire. And look at this. Spirit wrapped him in the blanket that he brought with him to the middle of the woods. And I do believe that, they could have done a lot better on this PSA by not putting the stream less than 2 feet from where he's standing.
Well, you're not looking at the important part of this. What is Spirit doing in the woods at 10 at night while these two kids are trying to camp? He just waiting and hoping that something bad will happen so he can just suddenly appear and say, hey, don't do that. What is Spirit doing in the woods at this point?
Well, I mean, I guess they re-edited this because if you look at it, he grabs him, he starts to run away, and then suddenly it just stops, and then he puts him down. So my thought is that Spirit actually grabbed him and ran off and threw him in the creek. Being an avid camper and hiker, I've never had any problem with my arm just spontaneously combusting like that.
Also, should we ask why are two 13-year-olds camping in the middle of nowhere by themselves?
Oh, I have no idea. You know what? I just realized it. Spirit must be a skinwalker. That's why it is.
So,
He's
yeah,
actually there
to
to eat them.
So that's why he didn't want them to burn, because he doesn't like burnt food, right?
Right, exactly.
Now, G.I. Joe had the most famous. It was very hard to pick one. We could have picked any of these. They were all very funny. They were all very silly. And they're still relevant, but it's just so silly how a G.I. Joe character is always waiting in the background to run in to stop the situation. I'm like, is that what G.I. Joe does all day? They just wait for disasters to happen here?
Well, I also like the fact that they just skip that whole thing of what we were taught later on, which is stop, drop, and roll.
Yes, and that is the best rule. I learned that in school. I did Vespor. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Now, I bet you don't remember that M.A.S.K actually had these PSAs at the end of it, and they were not afraid to use both the good guys and the bad guys because Venom was the Diet Coke of bad guys, in all honesty.
In this one, we're going to learn a very important lesson. Now, this was hard to pick one too, but this one is still a very prevalent lesson that needs to be learned because people are still doing this activity. And let's see what this dangerous activity is that the M.A.S.K members try to stop this poor little kid from doing. From the Ultimate Weapon, we got an important PSA at the end of that episode. Here we go.
Hey, look, Dad. Champ's hitchhiking. He'll get to the soccer field way before us.
Maybe, but maybe not. Hitchhiking is dangerous. You never know who's going to pick you up. The person who picks him up could be a Venom agent, or worse, a child molester.
Hey, Jeff! How about walking to the game with us? Dad, when it comes to hitchhiking, I say thumbs down.
As you now know that if you jump into a stranger's car, it's obviously a venom agent or a child molester.
Yeah, I guess those are the only two options that you have. Like, isn't hitchhiking now like a sort of a, not bad thing, but now a more of accepted thing? If someone stops you, they're being nice to you. It's not usually, I want to do something horrible to you type of thing.
Even as a kid, I didn't have to watch this for my parents to tell me, don't get in cars with strangers. I just love the fact they're just right out here. Listen,
They're analyzing it across.
yeah, they're just like, oh, I better stop him. And he's sitting there thumbing, and they wait for him to literally get in the car and says, hey, walk with us.
And by the way, it wasn't the M.A.S.K agent, it was his son that did it. The agent's like, that's right, son. You know, hitchhiking can be really bad. A child molester could be on the other side. Gee, Dad, you're right. As he's getting into the car, they're analyzing this kid about to get into this strange car that they're saying is the worst thing ever. And how do they know? This car could have been fine.
You see here, it's obviously a respectable car. There's no dirt on it, and the door opens by itself. Just ignore the guy in the driver's seat with the horns and the red skin. Just say, come on, kid. I mean, this just shows you how bad rubbernecking is. They're like, oh, let's see if he gets in the car. And then the kid's like, wait a second.
Wait a minute, this is my friend.
He's getting in the car, Dad.
He's the leader of the team, and he's just like, son, yes, he's about to get into a lot of trouble.
I love the fact he's just wearing a suit and is like, that'd be a terrible thing if that happened to him. Oh, well, let's go.
We're assuming that the kid is going to the ball game that they're going to. Why is that one have to feel like he has to hitchhike when it seems like it's a very short walk to get there? Like, why don't you just walk with us? He's like, hey, that's a great idea. Yeah, I'll just walk with you instead of getting in the strange car.
Did you notice he just runs right in front of the car? I'm like, well, he's just going to get run over now. This is a PSA that's not afraid to go there. They're just telling you right up, listen, they're going to be an evil agent of Venom that's going to take over the world, or they're just going to take you as a kid and do horrible things to you.
Yeah.
Do not get in cars with strangers, ever.
Let's move on to the next one.
So now let's move on to something a whole heck of a lot less serious. As a matter of fact, you can't get any more silly than Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh no, are we doing a Sonic Says S-E-Z PSA here?
Hey, it's great when Jaleel White gets on there, Urkel, and tells us something that is obviously correct.
Alright, so from Sonic the Hedgehog we have stupidity. Yes, because that is a very important lesson that we're going to learn here. And no one knows stupidity better than the bad guys of this show because they're probably the dumbest villains, I think, of any cartoon series.
Well, wasn't that all of us that watched this show back then?
And I think our brain cells popped as we were watching this horrible show. But yes, Sonic Says, Jaleel White, from 1993, Stupidity. That's right, listen to Sonic, folks.
At last, my new stupidity ray gun is finished. Oh, shoot! Ah! Ah!
You know, pals, there's 3 ways not to be stupid. 1, stay in school. 2, stay in school. 3, don't forget 1 and 2.
Ramses, the 3 rules should be this one. Number 1, never point a gun at yourself. Number 2, don't make it voice activated. And number 3, if it's a laser, don't stick the mirror behind you.
Shouldn't rule number 4 be, why am I inventing a stupidity ray?
Well, I mean, this has to be some sort of ray gun because look how stupid everybody already is in this show.
Scratch and Grounder are already like the 2 stupidest minions, I think, in the history of cartoon series, so how stupid can they get? So now they're as dumb as these 2. And then Sonic shows up out of nowhere as Dr. Robotnik will duh. Is that what a stupidity ray does to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, they spent 30 seconds of our life to tell us that if you don't want to be stupid, stay in school.
You're watching Sonic the Hedgehog, the bad version by Deke. It's like, how smart are we already for investing in this really horribly done quality show? Our stupidity is already at a pretty low level, so are they like self-aware here that they already know their audience is stupid? Well, they're watching us, but at least we can tell them to stay in school while they watch us, so now we'll feel better about us.
I'm guessing that's what it is. That being said, they got their message to us in 3 simple rules of stay in school, and refer to rules 1 and 2.
Yeah, but you stay in school and refer to rule number 1. I mean, why do you have to do stay in school, and refer to 1 and 2?
Oh, you old grump, you don't understand us cool kids from the 90s.
There's no outcome to the story. Robotnik is still stupid, and the 2 robots are just listening to Sonic teach us this. I don't understand the situation.
Well, obviously, he just goes to school and unstupifies himself. That's the best way to put it. So let's move on to our next one here.
All Alright, now we're going to do another cartoon series that was very famous for its PSAs at the end. Very famous. And you know, they were scrambling to come up with some after a while. When you have like 80 episodes or whatever it was for He-Man. On this one, we're going to learn about practical jokes from He-Man. Series was from 1983 to 1985. This is definitely the early 80s where they were really pounding these important lessons like practical joking into our head. It's very important stuff.
And this is our practical joke to you, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this moment.
You've all seen how Orko's magical tricks don't always go the way he planned. Sometimes they backfire on him. The same thing is true of practical jokes. Sometimes they don't go the way you planned, and you or someone else can get hurt. So be sure and think twice before playing a joke or a trick on anybody. Might not go the way you planned, and someone could wind up losing a finger or an arm or maybe even an eye. And no joke is worth that, is it? See you again soon.
This one has a lot to dissect here. Folks, this is not fan-made. This is a literal PSA. And I love the fact that he's working on his sky cycle there.
Hey, everybody. Yes. Orko's a real jokester. You know something? He's a real jerk. I could have lost my eye, or he could have taken a finger off. This is ridiculous.
Or even my arm. I would have lost
my
it,
whole
too.
arm. I would have been called Man-at-Arm instead of Man-at-Arms.
So, if you do a practical joke, don't.
Eyes, arms, fingers? What joke are we talking about here? Just like Jokey from Smurfs where he gives you the package and it explodes in your face?
Well, they learned not to do that, but some people are too naive. The full fact of the matter is like, our practical jokes is like putting cups of water above a door.
As you open it and it falls down and you, oh.
We never did a single practical joke that would end in mutilation.
So you didn't do the toss dynamite at someone and say, hey, think fast.
No, usually we just didn't care and we'd like throw buckets of water on each other. We were very open about our disdain for each other. Well, this is on another planet, folks, and they must take practical jokes to another level. They must like have to run the gauntlet for like their practical jokes.
I'm still trying to think, what joke would you do that you would lose a finger, eye,
the old, here you go, catch, and they throw, I guess, a battle axe at you and you lose your arm.
Hey, that wasn't funny, you just cut off my arm. Yep, I sure did. See you later.
So you know what, kids out there, don't do practical jokes that's going to involve you maiming, mutilating, and taking people's arms and legs off.
So yes, all you that wanted to hold that axe with your friend, little Jimmy again. Jimmy, hey, I got something for you.
Since you think hitchhiking was such a great profession, just be prepared that there might be somebody driving by and pick you up.
Oh, is that the practical joke?
Yeah.
Oh no, what is he doing here? He's not a jokester.
He's going to be driving the car later that's going to pick you up.
Oh, you mean that Pepsi van that he's always driving around, playing the Pepsi theme on it? Vespor, I don't like your practical jokes here. Can I tell you, Man-at-Arm is right. I don't appreciate your practical jokes. What do you have to say? What? You're serious? That wasn't a joke? Uh-oh. Maybe we should move on to the next one. You're right, Man-at-Arms. Practical jokes are not healthy for anybody. The more we know, the better we'll be. And that's, wink, something that we can all get wiser from.
Absolutely. Now that Man-at-Arms has taught us all about practical jokes and how not to maim your friends, let's go to another show that you might remember them being a literal crap ton of these PSAs in of, and that's Inspector Gadget. Now, some of the things that they talk about during their PSAs, unlike in other PSAs, is the events of the shows leading into the PSA themselves and referencing what was done beforehand.
That's right, but was it really violent enough that we needed a lesson? Well, yes it was, because every single episode of Inspector Gadget had one. For this one, we're going to learn a very important lesson that I think Smokey the Bear would appreciate, and that's the only clue I'm going to give you, from an episode called Haunted Castle, 1983.
Uncle Gadget, it's like paradise up here.
Yes, but one careless match could turn it into a disaster area. We must be very careful with fire.
But what if we were camping? We'd need a fire.
Well, I'd keep the fire very small and have a bucket of water nearby at all times.
How do you make sure it's out?
When no smoke or glowing coals are visible, then you're safe to walk away.
I guess it's much better to play it safe.
Right, Penny. It only takes a few minutes. A forest takes a lifetime to grow back again.
You know, this is actually one of the few PSAs we've looked at that it just literally wasn't so over-the-top crazy. Although, it did raise many a question, especially with Inspector Gadget, and the fact of, where is he keeping that bucket of water in his hat?
That was the weirdest part of this PSA. It's like, you're right, Penny. We have to be very careful about forest fires. And then his hand pulls out an entire bucket filled with water out of his hat. I get it that anything can come out of that, but why a bucket of water? Like, how is he even walking around with that thing in his head?
Yeah, it's the fact that it's filled with water. It's not like a fire extinguisher or the helicopter, a self-contained item. No, it's just a free bucket of water in there. The bucket's bigger than your head and your hat, so it makes little to no sense to me.
And you forget, when he's done explaining to Penny, he doesn't put the bucket back in, he dumps the water out back into his hat and throws the bucket away.
He must be just like you. I always said there was nothing between your ears. As far as PSAs go, this is sort of the tone for most of his PSAs. They actually try to take it a little bit seriously, with a little bit of fun thrown in, but the silliness of the PSA doesn't take away from what they're trying to tell you.
And they somehow tie it into the episode. That was the creative thing they did here.
So overall, a good PSA. And now we're going to do something that definitely, if you grew up in the 90s, you'll remember this from Cartoon Network, Sailor Moon.
Yes, we're going to do Sailor Moon because it had PSAs at the end. Believe it or not, for those of you who don't know, Sailor Moon is based on a Japanese anime. It was brought over to America, totally dubbed and changed around. Well, now an American cartoon, so we need PSAs at the end. And the way they do it is splicing in moments from the episode and then putting new voices over it to make it like we're actually talking about the PSA and not the clip from the episode itself. In 1997, we have Sailor Moon talking about the importance of stopping pollution. That's right.
Today, we saw buses vanish into thin air. Too bad we can't do the same with all the smog buses, cars, and trucks cause. We may be just kids, but we can help. Encourage your parents and friends to carpool or to use public transportation. It'll help save the air we breathe. And then treat yourself to something really delicious.
Okay, so she can't walk and eat at the same time.
Ice cream!
I thought Sonic made me lose my IQ. My IQ just went down from this too, watching Serena act like a nudnik again.
Well, at the very end of it, of course, because you have to do that. But don't forget, this show was highly changed from the Japanese to English versions.
You don't say.
But that being said, we now know that, guess what? If you live in that mythical state of Wyoming, where your neighbor is like 10 miles away from you, you need a carpool.
That's right. What can you do about pollution? Now, I asked this before in one of our PSAs. I think it was our second PSA. I said, what can kids really do about pollution? Well, they just answered the question. Force your parents to carpool so that they don't cause any pollution. I'm like, wow, what a great solution. Yes. Sorry, Ma. Sailor Moon said you can't drive your car anymore. You are the reason for our pollution problem, so you have to stop right now.
Or take public transportation. Like in this area, our nearest drive to it is about 10 to 15 minutes away from us. If we take public transportation, it'll be 3 hours for us to get there.
But Vespor, look at what you'll do to stop the pollution problem. It's very important. We gotta stop pollution. What lesson are we learning? What is this? So buses disappeared through black holes in this episode. Too bad we can't do that with pollution. That's the lesson we got. And then they show her eating an ice cream cone. It's like they really struggled to find moments for this episode that they could turn a 30-second story into. Is that what I'm learning?
Well, and also the big question is, they're obviously in a mall eating ice cream, and then their cat just is like, she can't eat and walk at the same time in the middle of public. I think everybody be like, hey, what just happened here?
A talking cat. Isn't that cool? Nah.
As you all know, cats can obviously walk and talk and make fun of their owners like this, and that's why I don't own a cat.
What are kids supposed to do? I mean, Ma, don't drive your car, and your mom's gonna say, yeah, Jimmy, then how are you gonna get to school? How are you gonna go anywhere? Oh, well, carpool. Yeah, with who? I don't have any friends.
The PSA should be about driving buses into black holes, not to do that. So you're not trapped between dimensions. Because Lord knows I'm driving to work every day. I have to dodge those pesky black holes that pop out of nowhere.
I hate when this happens. And that is the real PSA, how to avoid the black holes.
There's no pollution here. They're just sucked into the black holes.
There's no pollution in the city, so I don't know what she's talking about. And then she's crying about her ice cream. That's right, I had enough of this. Let's move on to the next one.
Well, Ramses, I'll tell you what. Remember how I talked about planting trees? Well, PSAs are to inform you about all aspects of life and things that you'll encounter. From She-Ra, let's have Lookie tell us about the enjoyment of stopping and smelling the roses. So from 1985, She-Ra.
Hi, it's me again, Lookie. Did you find me today? Well, here's another chance. Look closer. Here I am! Perfuma certainly loves flowers. Trees and flowers make our worlds more pleasant places to live. Take time to enjoy these special gifts of life. See you next time!
Vespor, what type of lesson is that? That's ridiculous.
That you too can make wind sounds by going.
That's the lesson we learned from this?
That's right. But here's the fun thing about it. As we said, PSAs were meant to inform us all how to lead better lives. What better way than enjoying the flowers as we see?
I don't know why we picked this one. We're trying to educate and teach people important lessons. Stop and smell the roses is not really a lesson that I want to teach everyone here. We're not going to give the He-Man lessons where don't do practical jokes. We're going to say...
Because you're going to maim and kill your friends.
Right. We're going to give the... When you see a flower, stop and smell it. You'll be much happier than you do. See you next time. It's like we're dumbing down the lessons for our audience. Is that what?
Well, they have the Rainbow Bright Reject right here telling them this. And I love the picture here. It's like they're in the middle of a freaking swamp.
Did you see me? That little smudge of yellow that's like in the corner there, that's me.
Well, when I watched She-Ra as a kid, I was watching it for Adora.
Oh, not for Loki. PSAs of He-Man had the 4 characters I mentioned. The PSAs of She-Ra always had Loki. So it's like they purposely came up with this whole Loki character just to do the PSAs. And Loki did appear in one episode as a main character, by the way. That is a fun fact that you guys should look into. What are you teaching kids? Smell flowers.
Hey, listen, they just gave up. 1985, they're like, oh, just screw it. Just smell the flowers. That's our message for the
We
day.
need another lesson.
Oh, no, you're right, Pepsi Monster. It should be drink a Pepsi and smell the flowers. You're right. They didn't quite get that one right.
Yeah. Now to the next one we have, because superheroes like to teach things too, and it's more about teaching than actually doing something. These are very funny. So the Super Friends also, during their Super Friend hour, in between each episode, they would have these like little PSAs that would show up. And I think this was all because they had no choice to it. This was part of that federal regulation I mentioned. And we found 2 because these are so ridiculous. We had to do 2 here.
And they're also ridiculously short. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and play both of them for you, and then we'll talk about each of them separately after that. So from 1977, we're going to start a little PSA from our friend Batman and follow it up with some health tips from Superman.
Holy harvest, Batman. Good to be out in the country. Batman, Robin!
Hi, Mr. Brown. Robin and I were hoping we could buy a snack.
This is the place to get some great ones. Be my guest. Apples, tomatoes, celery. It all looks good to me.
Right, Robin. Fresh fruits and vegetables make some of the best snacks there are.
What do we have, Batman?
Any of them, Robin, you can't miss.
That hits the spot.
Better than junk food, Robin.
And now, Superman teaching another important lesson for health.
Uh-oh, young Tommy is smoking a cigarette, creating his own smog cloud. Tommy's up to bat. Tommy smokes because he thinks it makes him look grown up, but watch what smoking does for him. That coughing is one thing. It keeps him from playing his best.
You're out!
Don't smoke. It doesn't make you grown up. It makes you a loser.
So our first one with Batman and Robin here with our little health tip was, don't eat chocolate, don't eat sweets. Take the back car, drive out to the country where everybody knows you. And as Robin said, holy harvest, just walking through there eating that, they just throw it in, have some of these nuts for you.
And your choice of what? Wonderful fruits and vegetables.
Or these nuts.
And then they're driving away. Golly gee, you're right, Batman. This is much better than junk food.
That's right. So they went through all of that, wasted 30 seconds of our Super Friends episode to tell us, please eat fruit, drive out to the country.
Farmer in the middle of Smallville is like, hey, it's Batman and Robin. Boy, you're a long way from home, aren't you?
Well, don't worry. They're with the Super Friends. They can get across the planet in seconds, so it's all right.
I just love how they're like talking, like, golly gee, Vespor, look at all these healthy fruits and vegetables. This is so much better than the potato chips I was thinking of getting. I better get some of these important tomatoes to have instead. Would you be like, that's right, Ramsis. A healthy choice will be a healthy body, and it's much better for you, too.
Well, actually, yes, because this is Super Friends, and Batman and Robin would never lie. Let's look at Superman here.
And now this one is Superman flies into the rescue. So you thought Batman and Robin were bad about preaching about only eat this stuff, which is impossible. No kid is just going to eat that stuff, but that's fine. You thought that was ridiculous. Well, this is even more over the top. Superman is just flying randomly over a baseball field. They're like, oh, little Tommy's smoking there. Now I'm going to lecture you at home all about smoking as I watch this poor kid kill himself.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, I understand this was the 70s, but they still didn't like you smoking out in public if you were a kid that's in Little League. I mean, for crying out loud here. He didn't do it in a dugout. He did it on a bench, and everybody could see him smoking. And then they see Superman, and they're like, "Oh, it's just Superman."
Let's go watch the smoking kid so we can get her out here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the other team's like, "Toke it, toke it." And listen to Superman's voice. I love the fact that he's just looking right at you and telling you, "Man, Tommy is just a giant loser. Screw this kid. He does not deserve to have fun at baseball."
Superman's not going to save him. He's not going to help him. He's going to badmouth him very loudly while he's standing there preaching to us. Tommy's a real loser.
This is obviously where in the Bay Transformers in the third movie, where Optimus goes, "We had to let millions of them die so that they'd listen to us." This is obviously the same approach that they're taking from Superman here.
Yeah, Superman's like, poor Tommy's going to die right now because he's too young to handle this. He's been smoking 3 packs a day. And I missed a bit because I passed out. You got to help me. That's right. Don't be like Tommy.
And I also want to point out something. Baseball was in a much better state in the 70s. So as we look here at this baseball field, we see that the coach on first isn't the team at bat's coach. It's the other team's coach, which should be like not at that spot telling them to run or steal since they're on the field itself.
And then we have the umpire standing at the pitcher's mound. What is that all about?
Well, I'm wondering if shortstop got lost, because that should be the 2 on first. One of them should be at the shortstop position.
Well, maybe that's why Superman is investigating.
That's actually probably why he came down in the first place. He's going, "What the hell is going on here?"
What happened to baseball? Yeah, forget little Timmy. All right, well, Vespor, enough on Superfriends. I think we've gone far enough here. It's time for the Mystery PSA. And since this is so much fun, we each get to pick one, right? We're each going to do one. All I'm going to say, it's another Hasbro Sunbow cartoon, one that we haven't mentioned yet. And it's going to be a very important lesson that we haven't done yet.
Oh, look! A power line fell down! I'll just push it out of the way. Don't touch that wire! Any fallen power line could be live and dangerous. If you see a fallen power line, call the police or the power company right away. And don't touch it. You could get the shock of your life. We didn't realize it was dangerous. But now we know the right thing to do. And doing the right thing makes you a superstar.
Well, Vespor, did you learn anything from Gem?
What did I just watch? Because that was so bright that it hurt my eyes. What hurt my eyes even more was these studios. Believe it or not, in my youth, I did some plays, and we never had wires hanging down from our lights on the middle of the stage.
You didn't, Vespor? That could easily trip as you roll over it with a little dolly there. This was the most ridiculous out of them all. And again, I think for female starring cartoons, they dumbed down these PSAs because there's no other explanation. She-Ra had like that stupid flower one. This one is, don't touch a wire.
Don't touch the power line. Now, folks, if you can see what they did here, they're talking about, power lines from, from the telephone poles that have the power lines on them. And yeah, you're not supposed to touch those at all. So they're like, "Oh, look, it's a wire off of a light." And this kid's like, "Oh, it's right there. It's not sparking. It's not doing anything. This could be a dead line for all we know." He's like, "I'm just going to go over here and pick it up, touch it." And folks, he's not grabbing it by the insulated end. He's literally going to grab it where all the wires are exposed.
I mean, this kid seems pretty stupid, and they're calling him a superstar at the end. Yeah, he's super or something, all right. I'm gonna go pick it up by grabbing right where the exposed wires are. Like, even a kid, he's 13 years old, I would hope he's a little smarter than that.
Well, no, wait a second. In that scene there, I just saw something that makes zero sense. If we're talking about scaling, look at the size of the door. That door, I bet if they walked right back, because it looks like they're only like 3 feet from it, only come up to their chest.
Yeah, the door is sort of shrunk. I guess they have a lot of clowns working.
Hey, you talk about clowns and scaling? Look at freaking Jim here. She's like towering over him.
Don't ever touch live wires. Golly gee, we were just trying to help. And they're both running in. Well, helping is not what we need here. You could have electrocuted yourself. It's like, this is so silly. And also, shouldn't the guy who ran over it be a little more concerned?
And the door shrunk even more.
I know, they grew over it again.
Well, all I know is that, thanks to Jim, we know never to grab a hot wire by the exposed sparking cords. Because don't forget, if you stay safe and follow what they tell you, you too can be a superstar. And look, the short guy even smaller.
Oh, Pepsi Monster, a wire fell down. You want to go get it?
Better be careful. You don't know what's going to happen. After all, you and his dad had a nice little talking that one time.
Oh, Vespor, you're living in the past. I got out of that situation. I'm back here, aren't I?
Yeah, you got all that situation into a full body cast for a week.
All right, well, I showed him that I'm not afraid of no Pepsi. Vespor, don't you have a surprise PSA?
I actually have the best possible PSA there ever was, ever will be, and has ever been. Oh, you're going to love this one. I dare say you may never have even seen it.
All right, well, that's an interesting clue. All right, folks, the second surprise PSA. I have no idea what it is, but he says it's the greatest thing ever, so hopefully it'll live up to those expectations. Here we go. I'm going to push play on this file here, and we get...
You gonna wear that sissy thing? It's called a life jacket. Yeah, well, I don't need one. Prepare to come about. Help me!
Gotcha. I guess you know you should have worn a life jacket. Accidents can happen, and a life jacket's good protection.
Like seatbelts in a car or a motorcycle helmet. Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.
The Transformers.
So what'd you think, Ramses?
I think that is ridiculous. These were not actually part of the episodes, folks. It looks like they did exactly what G.I. Joe did, but for some reason they didn't use them. These were all made during the second season of the show, because that's what all the characters are second season characters in these. The guy is standing on a boat bragging that he doesn't want to use a life jacket, and then his friend's like, whoops, I'm gonna pull the master. And they're all laughing as the kid goes flying, by the way.
Well, I love the fact that none of them threw him the life jacket he had there. And lucky for us that Sea Spray was literally just right off screen. It's like, I'll help you. And then he transforms and literally flies. Then stands on the water itself. Is like, hey kid, you're an idiot. You should obviously wear this life jacket.
And Sea Spray put a life jacket on that. I didn't even notice that at the end.
And then he turned into his boat form, activated the propellers, and capsized the boat the kids were in.
And now I know who's up the bottle.
But yes, this is just a fun little one. I love the Transformers one because they're silly in a different way. Because look at the situation they just did.
Yeah, the kid is being very cocky, and he's supposed to not be liked. He's supposed to be that jerk that you didn't want to come along, but somehow he forced himself into the group somehow.
And you know he's a bad kid because he's wearing black.
Yeah,
that was an 80s
black
thing.
shirt meant evil guy, or at least edgy, it meant in the 80s. And the kids are laughing at this kid. So either they did the masking on purpose, or it just was a happy little coincidence. Sea Spray doesn't get much use. You know, any water character in these cartoons is really a rarely used character. You have to remember that. Like Aquaman, the guy from Centurions, Visionaries, they don't use the water characters at all. So Sea Spray getting to do something, it's like, oh boy, Sea Spray probably volunteered for this PSA because he doesn't get any usage any other time. So he was very happy to do this.
I don't know. I think that about Sea Spray, I'd be absolutely happy because nothing happens at the sea. So he doesn't have to do any fighting. He just sort of, look guys, I'm doing something. I'm saving humans. I'm doing my part.
Yes.
And by the way, do you have water in your like transmitter or something when you're talking?
He sounds like
you're
he's
like,
gargling. He's gargling his mouthwash, I guess. I don't know. Boat safety, Vespor. That is the important message.
Oh, I love the name of the boat, too. Seagull 10, folks. So
how many seagulls have they gone through?
How many has Sea Spray capsized here? Oh, God, his Sea Spray. Just let him drown. Don't tip our boat over.
No, Sea Spray, stop. So that was our fun look at PSAs. So cartoon versions, that is.
That's right. Now, there are so many of these.
These PSAs covered every single subject of safety that you can think of, and we're not kidding. They cover the gambit, every lesson you ever wanted to learn. Now, I'm going to end this by saying, did these PSAs work? I'm going to say yes and no. We all remember that these episodes had PSAs. I want to believe in the back of our mind we remembered some of the lessons in this, but did it actively make our life safer or not? I have no way of saying.
But we still remember, especially the ones about drugs, because of the eggs and the frying pan.
That's right. So yeah, that was our look back at PSA Cartoon Edition. And if we forgot your favorite one, let us know. We'll do it again. There are so many more. Even if we have the repeat series, there are hundreds of these that we could look through. I mean, that's how many of these things there are out there.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, your ride's here.
My ride? I'm not going anywhere. What are you talking about? Hey, wait, what's going on here? What are they doing here, Vespor? I'm trying to wrap up the show here.
Well, I think the Pepsi Monster's going to show you what hitchhiking's really like nowadays.
So what? Hitchhiking? I told you I don't do hitchhiking. What's going on? Vespor, they dragged me out of the seat here. What's going on, Vespor?
And with that, we'll leave you with this, folks. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell. Also, don't ride with hitchhikers. Matter of fact, don't tick off people and call them hitchhikers because they hate being called child molesters. Well, to be fair, I don't necessarily think that was actually hitchhiking, that more like a kidnapping. Oh well, I'll leave that for the philosophers to decide. See you all next time.